Hello?
Hey there, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And it's nice to finally talk to somebody whose camera quality is at least as bad as my own.
I'm not a very tech savvy kind of guy.
I'm okay with tech usually, but Zoom makes you like pay to use your phone. So I'm having to crack out like a 2011 webcam for these.
I'm familiar with those.
Yeah, just so that's a lot of fun.
Oh, sure.
So how you been?
I've been good. How about you, man?
I've been good. I have been crazy busy, just always something.
That's good. That's good. As long as it's positive stuff, it's good.
I will evaluate in a month or so. You know how it is. You're in the thick middle of it, and it just what even is happening right now.
Yeah, when you're just when you're in the weeds, you just gotta just get through the weeds.
Exactly. All right. So ready whenever you are.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, 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 and welcome to another Kid Writes Halloween interview. Today we have Cristopher DeRose with us. How you doing today, Chris?
Good. Thanks for having me, Michael.
Is it Chris, Christopher? Which you prefer?
Either or.
Either or? Okay. Well, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been writing for over 30 years, with some music on the side. I was primarily a musician for the longest time, and then I kind of added writing to that, and then there was sort of a demarcation point, and I became more of a writer.
What kind of music did you play? Just out of curiosity.
Well, what I'm doing now is ambient stuff, but what I did back then was metal.
Nice.
Oh yeah, my hair was much longer back then. There was no beard. Yeah.
I'm imagining like a reverse Dave Grohl situation.
It's sort of like, yeah, so how he kind of evolved, but backwards. Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, I can see that. So we are here today to talk about Zombie Shuffle.
Yep.
Will you explain to the folks at home what that is?
Zombie Shuffle is, like I said, I've been writing for about 30 years. These stories are spanning that entire part of my life. Some of them are really old, some of them were written specifically for the collection, and they're geared specifically toward the subgenre of horror called zombie. And some of them are a little comedic, some of them aren't. Um, and I just try to put my own twist on them, as I was going through reviewing the ones that were going to be added for the collection, about how much fun I had writing about zombies. They're probably one of the ones, the subgenre that I've written about in short stories, almost probably more than any other.
Hang on, my guest star needs my attention. Just a
Of
second.
course, you got to do it, man.
Uh, you want to know? You have any questions?
Oh, the boss is on camera now. Okay.
Yes. This is the guy who makes all the decisions. He's the one been keeping me so busy.
There
So
you go.
busy.
I have one of my own. My son just turned 20 the few months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Talk about time flying.
Yeah, no, there are like I've got him and his big brother, and they're both already too big. It's scarier than anything I've read this month.
Sure. Yeah.
So let's talk about zombies because I believe I'm not sure who he was. Your publisher maybe said something in the foreword about zombies being like the apex monster of horror. Could you kind of elaborate a little?
Well, Bruce S. Larson, he's been a longtime friend and occasional collaborator. He does artwork for my music now. If you haven't read him, you got to read him. He did the forward. And I think what he just meant is that they're kind of like the killer shark in Jaws. It's just it's going to get you, and there's a certain uh, almost inevitability about in zombie stories is when is the zombie going to appear? Sort of like in Jaws, that because there's nothing that's going to stop them. The only thing that's going to stop them is you take their head off, and sometimes that's not so easy to do.
Yeah, no, it's so The Walking Dead is coming to a close now, and does seem like we just got over. I'm not sure if "got over" is the right terminology, but we just got past a real big push of zombie horror. So, what was it like developing zombie stories in that push?
Well, some of the stories were written specifically for the collection, so we'll kind of concentrate on that. I think because there had been a difference of a few years from when I stopped writing them to when we saw that big push with the zombies from, especially with The Walking Dead coming in, and then all their spin-offs, and suddenly there was a reimagining or a a resurgence in interest in zombies. And I wrote probably about 4 or 5 of those stories around that time. And I just approached it with, I think, maybe just a different theme. Um, it's really easy to eschew a lot of things in horror or any speculative fiction, really, is just, well, it's just all they're doing is it's just zombies and it's just a guy with a knife or it's just starships shooting at each other. It's a lot easier to discount the genre without thinking of the commentary that we can see in subtext, as well as like what the Walking Dead's been doing. Sometimes it really shows you what we're really made of, and we're not necessarily all the same. And sometimes our motivations are a little cloudy, and they can change.
Yeah. So, do you have a favorite zombie story in Zombie Shuffle?
I really like Taking Hold. That's the last story. That was one that I wrote specifically for the book because it ends kind of hopefully. I'm not trying to get into spoilers. I'm not going to tell you what happens or anything, but uh, I like endings that have a little bit of a glimmer, either that or just complete darkness. I don't really do a middle of the road very well. So it's either something that's at least a look to the future or that's hopeful or really, really bleak. My favorite is probably Subhuman, and that's one of the older ones now that I think about it. And that's the one that leads off the collection. Um, but I had a blast writing that too because I like to explore the themes of what makes us human. And zombies are a great way of expressing that and all the little layers that we have in our brains and our hearts, our minds.
So, I've got to ask anytime I talk to anybody who writes about zombies, personal preference, fast zombies or slow zombies?
Ah, I'm a diehard slow zombie. I like the slow zombies, but I will tell you, seeing the fast moving zombies in say 20 Days Later or Train to Busan, which I saw about 3 months ago, was very affected by it. It was a really good movie. There is something to be said for the terrifying impact of these snarling killing machines coming at you really fast that um, you can't really defend against because there's 100 of them and they're all charging at top speed. Um, I think I just like the creepiness factor of these slow zombies, like with what The Walking Dead has been able to do, is show that they can sneak up on you rather easily. And even if they're slow, they just need to bite you once, you know. And uh, so I think that's in the defense of the slow zombies. However, and I came up with this in a couple of the stories. Um, if I go for slow zombies, all you have to do is climb a flight of stairs and you're okay. Or close the door behind you and you're okay because ostensibly they would have no motor control of how to work steps or to even raptor like turn a door lock or door latch. Um, but it's sort of like vampires in that there's so many different versions of vampires now. There's just as many versions of zombies. And as long as they serve the story effectively, use them. Doesn't matter if they're fast or slow.
All right. Yeah, no. I've always just been kind of a fan of the slow zombies myself because there's just something terrifying about something that seems like it'd be really easy to survive. And then by the end of the story, you're like, oh no, they all dead.
Yeah, it's that the inevitability, I think, and that's a good theme of the inevitability of something you're dreading that you know is out there and can cause you harm, whether in the real world, that can mean almost anything. But in a zombie story, you're dealing with the inevitability of at some point you've got to go out and get food.
Yeah.
Uh, all sorts of things like that. Um, so, and I think it's because I was brought up on the slow zombie movies. I think there weren't a whole lot of fast ones. So I think traditionally speaking, that's why I like the slower ones.
Yeah, I think 28 Days Later was really the first mainstream fast one. I don't know. Were they fast in The Return of the Living Dead? I feel like maybe.
Uh, I think they were faster. They weren't at like ridiculous, ludicrous speed that they were in like The Crazies or 28 Days Later.
So switching gears a little bit, let's talk about short stories.
Okay.
First, have you written anything long form before? Or do you stick mostly with the short form content?
Um, I stuck with a lot of short stories and then doing like whatever I could in terms of a long, like a novel length idea. I've written novels, I've written novellas, and I've kind of fallen into this niche category of novella, which allows me to, I think, really strip the story down to its bare moving parts so there's no filler. Um, and not to say that if it's a novel length book, there's going to be filler, but it's just easier for my writing style to adopt a novella reasoning going, it's as long as it goes. It's longer than a short story, but it's not going to be, a Tom Clancy novel length book. And so I'm comfortable in both versions, but lately, say the past 2 or 3 years, I've been concentrating on novels and novellas.
So when writing short stories, you typically you just by the very nature you don't have the amount of time to really dive into everything and explain everything. So what are your tricks for grounding the audience, so to speak, as quickly as possible?
Subtext, but not relying on it. It's like in dialogue, it's not necessarily what's being said, but it's maybe what someone's avoiding to say. And establishing the universe that you are, your world. You don't have, in a short story, you don't have pages and pages and pages of world building. You have, pages, and that's it. And as long as you can put someone in an environment they're familiar with, if they're reading horror, science fiction, or whatever, generally speaking, they're going to be pretty familiar with the surroundings that you're going to put them in. So I tend to put identifiers like music, maybe cars, and to give them something to look at in the world that I'm creating around them. So when they get to know this person or creature or whoever that's going to be the thrust of the story, it's a little bit more colored in than maybe it wouldn't be if you just kind of went for a complete strip down and turned a story that could go 10 pages into 5. I don't want to stretch a story for so long that even I lose interest, because I figure if the author's losing interest, the reader's not going to want to read it. It's going to show.
And in that regard, is it stressful or is it helpful to not explain everything? Because I find it's always one or the other for every writer.
Right. I, as a reader or a watcher, viewer, whatever, I don't mind having a little bit of mystery and not have everything, every I dotted and T crossed. I like a little shadow on the corners of the picture so I don't see everything that's there. With short stories, it's probably easier to control what the reader sees. And I hate using air quotes, but that's what I'm going to do. Because of the format. It's a more compact format. And I think as long as you keep your scope from going too wide with short fiction, you should be able to carry your reader on its path according to the story as you saw it in your head, without simplifying or something like that, which never really works.
Yeah. No, that's very much true. If you could give any advice to aspiring writers out there, what would it be?
Oh, I'm going to paraphrase somebody. I don't remember who said this, and I don't think they said it about writing, but I'm going to say it anyway. Try to make sure that you're not confusing a love of reading for a passion for writing. They're two very separate things. And with that, a lot of people don't want to start because well, what if the story's going to be bad? You got to start somewhere. You've got to deface those pages, and you can't read books or watch tutorials or something and have a general plot in mind and consider yourself a writer. It is some inspiration. Sometimes it's therapeutic. But if your heart isn't in it and you thought that maybe it was, sometimes you'd have to look at it from that way, a more tangible way of looking at creation of, do you really want to do this, or do you really like reading? Just like, do you want to make film, or do you just really like watching movies? Because it's a different study.
All right. So now here's either the most fun or most horrifying part of the video. Do you have stuff that you'd like to plug?
Do I have what?
Things you'd like to plug, things you'd like to promote.
Oh, stuff that I like to plug. I've got another trivia book from Bear Manor Books coming out next year. Don't want to say the title of it yet, but it's going to be in the same zone as the MASH trivia quiz book that I wrote with my son. There's going to be another installment of the Valentine Saga sometime next year. And I've got a little bit of a horror novel cooking that I'm really kind of looking forward to opening up and seeing what I can do with. I don't want to say too much about that because I'm kind of superstitious and talking an idea to death. You almost jinx it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I've been there, man. I know what it's like. Hey.
What's that? Trying to figure out what this is. Yeah. Why, buddy?
There you go.
All right. For the folks at home, I have my Cosmic Horror Story Divided out on Kindle Vella. I just released chapter 6 like a week ago, so I really should probably get started at chapter 7 at some point. And obviously I've still got kidwrites.com going if you want to take a look at that. And all the like and subscribe stuff that we are mandated to say by the YouTube gods. Hi. Oh, and also Teddy says hi.
Hey, Teddy.
All right. Well, it has been great having you on, Chris.
Thank you very much for having me. Just tailing, you said YouTube, and I just suddenly thought you can check my YouTube channel, and I'm on Instagram. Just look up Cristopher DeRose, and I will be there.
All right. I will definitely be sure to look you up. Yeah, right there. All right.
Okay.
Well, all right. Well, happy Halloween.
Thank you very much. You too, man.
Bye.
Take care. Bye, everyone.